Alrighty, today's lesson is on chapter 3 of A Course in Miracles. Today we are going to dive into the point of the course, why are we doing the course, how to move from misperception, separation to true perception, right-sightedness, spiritual sight, to knowing, which is ultimately what the course describes as living in the human experience, but having the mind of God, aka a mind of unconditional love. So I'm going to talk us through that entire experience today, giving direct quotes from the book and explaining what the heck they actually mean on a human level. If you want to see more of this, or you want to be a part of the ending Q&A and conversations, as well as the embodiment calls, go ahead and click the link in my bio. Join Heaven on Earth Academy, which is my community of A Course in Miracles students, where we are learning how to not only read, analyze the course, but to actually embody what it means to be a soul living in this human experience, remembering that we are one with God. I hope you enjoy the video. Comment any questions or feedback that you got from this, and I hope to see you soon. I want to start with a little bit of a drop-in, so wherever you are is perfect. I'm going to have you just go ahead and rest your eyes to a close and find a comfortable position. And then wherever you're at, taking a slow, deep inhale all the way in through the nose and out of the mouth. This one even slower, into the belly, into the heart, audibly out of the mouth. Beginning to allow your body to relax in the seat beneath you. And final one, all the way in. And as you exhale on this one, just letting everything go. Beginning to feel your body against that seat beneath and behind you. And feeling a sense of connection. Feeling what it feels like to be connected to this chair or bed or surface. And now this beautiful big book that we're about to dive into is all about being reminded of your connection with an all-powerful, all-knowing God, creator of universes. And so in that same way, you can feel your connection to that chair beneath you. What if that chair were that all-powerful, all-knowing creator? And what would it be like to be connected to this creator? Imagining now that on your next inhale, you could inhale that strength, that power, imagining now that your cells, that your body, and your mind could be able to match that of the creator. And maybe it seems impossible, or maybe you can start to get a sense of feeling of what it would even be like. And recognizing here and now that your brain has neuroplasticity, which means that it can change, and your beliefs can change. Which means that if you shape your identity to remember your soul, not sometimes, but all the time, in every single moment, you can experience eternal peace. You can be led by God, not sometimes, not every once in a while, but in every single moment. You can allow love to move directly through you, to be a channel of love, to be an extension of love. And now for just a moment, imagining what it would be like for your entire being, your body, your energy, your essence, your soul, to be emanating pure love. Maybe it feels like sparkles or glitter or warmth. And then what would it be like to extend this love? Extending your awareness of your own love. And then immediately remembering that everything is this love. Now imagining everything around you, underneath you, in your room, outside of your room, is love itself. And now everything is that warmth or glittery or sparkly sensation. Allowing your mind to soften and your body to soften, relaxing into the sensation even more. And this is what A Course in Miracles teaches us, is that we can exist in heaven on earth. Meaning we can perceive love all around us, within us, in every single person. And because our imagination shapes our reality, when we begin to imagine this is true, it begins to show up in our waking state, in opportunities, in people showing you parts of them that you didn't even know existed, showing you more loving parts, more whole parts, simply because you are perceiving it within them. You are activating it within them. And A Course in Miracles says that as you activate it within another, you automatically activate it within yourself. So now in just a moment, we're going to begin to move into chapter 3. Beginning to feel an opening in some way, remembering that the Course is not meant to be analyzed specifically, but to be integrated into your subconscious, so that your perception shifts. And so feeling an opening in some way, a readiness to receive the wisdom, the truth of A Course in Miracles. Allowing yourself to be present, recognizing that your attention is your greatest superpower. And taking a deep inhale all the way in. And relaxing, letting go. And then slowly and gently beginning to return back to this space, blinking your eyes open. Ready and excited to dive in. I realize I should get like a normal looking glass when I do these calls. I have a milk jug right now. Alrighty. I'm really, really excited to dive into chapter 3 today. Chapter 3, well, I'll kind of lay the land for you guys. I'm gonna go through a lot of the text today. The reason being, I want to really familiarize you guys and anyone listening to the text. So I'll be reading a lot of the text and then breaking it down, breaking it down, because I want to make it make sense when you're reading it and or when you're doing the lessons. And then after we go through chapter 3, I'll open the floor for questions. So that being said, if you came to this call having already read chapter 3 and you have questions already, you can do those. Or if any questions come up during this session, you can just jot them down and then we can discuss it afterwards. All right, let's dive into it. Okay, so chapter 3 is really about the path of A Course in Miracles, as in what are we actually doing here, and how do we actually do it? I feel like this chapter really explains what the whole point of what we're doing is, and again, how to do it. So this chapter is a demonstration of how to go from separation to right perception to knowledge. And it really dictates like the entire experience using Jesus. Okay. Now I want to talk about Jesus and Christianity for just a moment here, because at the very beginning of this chapter, it starts to describe how A Course in Miracles is in fact different than Christianity. And we all know this, but it does this many times throughout A Course in Miracles, and I want to invite in why it's important to recognize it. One, if you are or were Christian and you're reading this, a lot of what it's doing is helping you unlearn some of the things that were taught in Christianity and how to actually recognize the story of Jesus in a new way. Two, if you are not Christian, maybe you grew up in a different religion and or weren't religious at all, I think it's really interesting to note the differences that it's pointing out, because about 30% of the world is Christian, and in the United States, over 60% is Christian. And the reason why I think it's so interesting is because we live in a very foundationally Christian country. The belief system of Christianity is reflected in the entire foundation of our country. And there are some things about Christianity that really change your perception of reality. And again, recognizing now that religion and belief systems aren't based off of whether or not they're true, because we have no clue what's true, but based off of what is the outcome of actually believing this. And there are some things within Christianity that become really clear in our country of what the outcome of believing specific things in a religion. And one of those things is really clear to see, that Christians believe in a judging God, essentially. There's a judgment day. God is like, you are good or you're not good. You can come to heaven or you go to hell. And the whole premise of religion is usually to be more like God, right? And so then if you're looking to be more like God, who is a judging God, what are you going to be more like? And I know Christianity says, no, but don't judge. But psychologically, this is why I love that A Course in Miracles is a psychological mind training. If you have a part of you that says, I will not judge because it's a sin, but then another part of you wants to be more like God, who is a judging God. These are conflicting parts. And they go like this, and then you feel judged, shame, guilt. You feel like, I don't know what to do, because these two parts are conflicting. And so then what do? You feel bad about yourself. You feel like you're not enough. And so who do you need? You need something outside of you to save you from this conflict that you're experiencing. And then what else do you notice? You judge people. There's a lot of judgment that goes on because you are trying to be more like a God who is judging. Second thing about this that A Course in Miracles really, really emphasizes is that Christianity really places so much emphasis on the crucifixion. And A Course in Miracles says it's not about the crucifixion, it's about the resurrection. And so in Christianity, it's all about the crucifixion. Jesus came and he died for you. Like, you should feel bad. You're a sinner. Okay, remember that too. You are in a Christianity, you are a sinner. You are a sinner. If I believe that I am a sinner, how am I going to feel? How am I going to move, act, and think based upon that belief system? I'm going to experience a lot of shame and guilt. I might even act out on that shame and guilt because it's a perpetual belief and pattern. And I might even do things, like really, really bad things, because I'm perpetuating a shame cycle because it's not completing itself, because I inherently believe that this is who I am. I am a sinner. Oh my God. Neuroscience makes everything makes so much sense. Why the world is the way that it is, based off of belief systems. Now, sacrifice. Jesus died for you, died for your sins. He gave his life on the cross. Also, like, puts a lot of like love in the fact that Jesus sacrificed and that God would give his only son to die. God would kill his only son. And that's like a contradicting thing. Like, God would kill someone. Course in Miracles is like, no, that's like literally not in God's nature. God is just unconditional love. And so that would be paradoxical. And then there would be rules that we have to determine which are true. And who's determining that? People are going to determine that. And how do we know that they're determining it correctly? So the thing that I keep looping back to, sacrifice, you notice that in a culture, this one might blow you guys away. In a culture that really 60% of us, 60% of the United States, really, really, really honor sacrifice. What kind of culture do you think we'll live in? I don't know. One that maybe will grind and hustle for 80 to 100 hours a week so we can say, yeah, I work really hard. I sacrifice for my family. I do what it takes because that's worthy of God's love, which is what Jesus was. Worthy of God's love, right? He sacrificed. Oh my goodness. So A Course in Miracles is like, no. Yeah, Jesus died on the cross, but like, that's not the point. The point is right here. It says that there's a quote that says, the crucifixion did not establish the atonement. The resurrection did. Again, crucifixion was not the point. The resurrection was the point. The resurrection demonstrated that nothing can destroy truth. Good can withstand any form of evil because light abolishes all forms of darkness. So the point of Jesus dying on the cross was to demonstrate that at no point are we ever truly separate from God. So Jesus demonstrated going from separation to right perception to complete knowledge. At the point of his death, he knew for a fact, because that's what knowledge is, that he was one with God, that he was his spirit, so that his body dying did not mean anything, because that's not who he was. He was his spirit. It says that good can withstand any form of evil because light abolishes all forms of darkness. Now, I want to go a little bit further into exactly what Jesus said in A Course in Miracles. It says, I was a man who remembered spirit and its knowledge. As a man, I did not attempt to counteract error with knowledge, but to correct error from the bottom up. I demonstrated both the powerlessness of the body and the power of the mind. By uniting my will with that of my Creator, I naturally remembered spirit and its real purpose. I cannot unite your will with God's for you, but I can erase all misperceptions from your mind if you will bring it under my guidance. Only your misperceptions stand in your way. Without them, your choice is certain. Okay, so here he's telling us how it's done. He's saying that I didn't try to counteract error with knowledge. So he wasn't trying to spiritually bypass, in a sense, like seeing that there were error and being like, no, it's God. But he corrected it from the bottom up, demonstrating that the body itself is powerless. Form is powerless. But the power of the mind is our ability to remember that we are one with God. And then it says, I cannot unite your will with God for you, but I can erase all misperceptions from your mind if you will bring it under my guidance. So it's demonstrating that Jesus cannot be the one to make us remember, but he can help us, Jesus, Holy Spirit, remember that the only thing that's preventing us from this remembrance is simply the misperceptions in the way. The idea that we're form or that separation actually defines who we are or how much peace or love that we can experience is what he can help us see differently. And that's where the prayer of like, let me see this differently, and I will to see this differently, is asking Jesus, asking Spirit, hey, can you show me the actual truth beyond what I think that I'm seeing right now? Because I know I'm misperceiving this. So this is like we're starting to see now the transition from misperception of separation to right-sidedness or perceiving correctly. So misperception, separation is just being like of the body, like being so utterly human, and that's it. Like, I am my body. The sicknesses that happen to me are who I am. The circumstances that happen to me in my life must be absolutely devastating because that's all that there is. Like, I described this in a post on someone's page, or someone's post inside of Heaven on Earth Academy. She mentioned being like really upset by something. And she's like, I know I failed the course today because like I felt so many emotions and like it definitely took my peace. And I was like, no, but that's not true. Like, you didn't fail. What a course is describing is not saying don't feel the depths of the emotions of the human experience. It's saying don't identify with them. And the way that I described it was, if you were just a little wave in the ocean and you thought like your whole world was that you were the wave, and you saw all these other big waves around you and you were like comparing yourself to them, and you would be so afraid of you would be afraid of everything. You'd be afraid of all the waves around you. Versus if you remembered that you were the entire ocean and that you could be a wave expressing itself, or you'd be a different wave expressing itself. And then all of these waves are just waves of emotions or circumstances that are happening. But you remember that you are connected to the entire ocean, so none of these waves are intimidating you or making you less than or anything like that. That is like separation at its finest. We are completely separate from one another. We compare ourselves to one another. Moving into right-sidedness is being able to perceive that though we are separate, we got different bodies, right? We are all connected to that same source. There is a universal consciousness flowing through each of us. And so in that way, when I start to perceive the truth in you, I have to perceive the truth in me, because I recognize oneness in you. And then knowledge, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself, whatever. Knowledge is what Jesus showed us, is the complete knowing of God. Now, this is like Bodhisattva. I feel like Eckhart Tolle might have got here. Man's looks like he's like at peace at all times, but the kind of like enlightenment, awakened experience that we hear all the time and is talked about is complete knowledge, recognizing that there is no question. There is no, oh, am I judging that person or am I not? Like, there is no, is this suck or does this not? Like, everything is one and perfect, and that knowledge never leaves. It's hard for me to even try to describe because I'm pretty sure I'm really far from it, you know, but like I imagine that it would just feel like ultimate perfection. And that's what Jesus and the Holy Spirit define as knowledge, and what Jesus demonstrated is possible. Yeah, okay, let's see. Now I'm going to describe a little bit more of how to do it. DIY, guys. We can all do it. Okay. This says, so knowledge is the ability to perceive everything as perfect. Yes, of course, doesn't necessarily describe it as perfection. And it's essentially the best way I could describe it is like God is unconditional love. And unconditional love nothing has ever left its source. We, according to God, like we're still, our souls are like still one with God, have never left. And we, our egos, believe that we're separate, and thus we have created form. And so knowledge is just like the perfect understanding that we have never left our original form of unconditional love, of oneness. And so there is, though we experience, like Jesus did experience separation, there was no judgment, and he was not even afraid to die, you know, like to some extent is like, he knew that because he had to know. Otherwise, I imagine he would have maybe not came back from that so well, but because he knew that he was one with God, that ultimately everything was perfect, and he was unconditional love, then he didn't die to the flesh, arise in Christ. Okay, so this is how to do it. Course says, forgiveness is the healing of perception of separation. Correct perception of each other is necessary because minds have willed to see themselves as separate. Each soul knows God completely. That is the miraculous power of the soul. The fact that each one has this power completely is a fact that it is entirely alien to human thinking, in which if anyone has everything... Sorry, that was like a run-on sentence. Let me try that again. The fact that each one has this power, each soul has this power, is a fact that's entirely alien to human thinking, in which human thinking would say, in which if anyone has everything, there is nothing left. God's miracles are as total as his thoughts because they are his thoughts. Yeah, right. I know. I even have to read them twice. Okay, forgiveness is the healing of perception of separation. This one, okay, correct perception of each other is necessary because minds have willed to see themselves as separate. What this means is like we literally have created form so that we could experience our mind as separate. So what I imagine is like at one point we were all just, I always describe it as this like ooey gooey consciousness, like all one mind. And then some extension of God had this crazy idea, what if we were separate? And we willed ourselves as separate. But it says that each soul knows God completely. Each soul knows God completely, and that is the miraculous power of the soul. That the fact that each one has this power completely is alien to the human thinking. So this is, A Course in Miracles always says that the thinking of the world that we live in is 180 degrees different than the actual reality that A Course in Miracles is describing. Saying that because each soul knows God completely, that is entirely alien to human thinking. The human would say, no, I'm a body, and this is the experience of living in a human world. And that is the forgiveness and atonement that A Course in Miracles talks about. That the whole point of this course is the remembrance that we are our soul. In atonement, forgiveness is simply forgiving our insane thoughts for forgetting. That's it. It's not like, oh, I need to forgive myself, like God, please forgive me for I have sinned. It's like, no, like the only mistake that you've made is that you think that you're separate from God, from your soul. That's it. And in that mistake, when we make that mistake, what happens is we identify with our ego. When we identify with our ego, we identify with lack. And that can answer all of your problems. If you are comparing yourself, if you don't have enough money, if you don't have the resources that you need, if that person's being mean to you, like all of the problems that you have come from the idea that you don't have enough. The answer to that is to remember that you are a soul that is unconditional, loving, and connected with an all-powerful God. And that is the entire how-to process. How to be like Jesus 101. And now the second part of this says prayer. This is the next part of this. It says prayer is a way of asking for something. It is the medium of miracles. But the only meaningful prayer is for forgiveness, because those who have been forgiven have everything. I just wanted to like stamp that on. I feel like that just like solidified what I just told you, so I don't need to explain it much deeper, but it's like even in prayer, you don't have to ask for something and like wish for it. It is already here. All of the abundance and the opportunities and the love and the experiences that you could possibly desire are already here. You just have to remember that you have it. And that is what the atonement is like forgiving your insane mind to think that you couldn't have it, that it isn't already here for you right now. And then on a, like, just a side note, realistic level, what this actually means in reality is like, let's go there. Let's say, I'll just use a really real example. I experienced some money scarcity recently. And it's not like I need to pray and ask for more money, or ask for, I'll just leave it at that. Ask for more money, let's say. It's the recognition. My responsibility is to remember that I am one with the creator of all that is. My abundance is inherent. It is already within me. And so maybe I say that to myself. Maybe I take a few deep breaths. However, my method or modality is, I want to describe this to you guys in terms of like manifestation and frequency, because I think that like a lot of us can speak that language very efficiently. And manifestation is like, I want to manifest more money. And so what do? I imagine it, I see it, I evoke an emotional state within me that changes my energy, my frequency, so that I'm a match to that which I desire. And ideally you stay in that frequency until you attract it to you. Now, the reason I believe that A Course in Miracles is at the top of the triangle of logical levels of change, and why it's even easier than manifestation, is because if in every single moment your only responsibility is forgiveness, every single time a limiting belief does come up, because they will, instead of rewiring, oh no, I am inherently, or I am abundant, I have so much money, I'm a millionaire, you are wiring in that you are an infinite soul that is connected with God, which is inherently abundant. So yes, you can wire in specific beliefs, and or if you remember, if you truly knew, like knew in your bones, in your cells, in your mind, in your heart, if you actually knew, I'm not just saying it on paper, but if you actually knew that you were the same stuff as the creator of the freaking universe, would you be afraid of money? Like, we made it up, like, would you be afraid of dying? Would you be afraid of all these things? And you wouldn't. And so this is the premise of the course, is like, we don't have to, it talks about magic. We don't have to make things happen. When we remember who we are, it happens for us. And the way that I really like to think of this is like the trees and nature. It just happens. Not because the freaking little bush out there is like trying its darndest and like working on its limiting beliefs so that it could like grow when the sunshine hits just right. Like, that bush just does it. Bush just does it because it's got that inherent trust, because it doesn't have an ego. Literally, only thing that keeps us separate from this natural process of abundance in life is our belief, our delusion that we could do it better than God. Of course, Miracles says that all the time, is that the only problem that we actually have is that the belief that we could usurp the power of God. As in, we're like, you know what? Yeah, I know I have this natural life force running through me in every single moment. If I just remembered it, everything would work out perfectly. But I've got an idea. And I think this one's gonna be the one. I know how to manifest things now, so I can just make it happen myself. And God's like, yeah, sure. You could, I'm also, if you just like listen, you just allow this to move through you, it all happens perfectly. So that is the premise of A Course in Miracles, and what Jesus and Spirit invites us to do is to recognize that we got the juice, we got everything that we need. And two, like on the note of purpose and creation and like making your dream life happen, it's like we've got this idea that, like, I don't know about you, but I have this idea of like, oh, but if I give it all to God, then like I won't get to have my dream life. What? And it's like my only function is to be the fullest extension of love. Couldn't you imagine that the creator of the universe probably has enough resources to like give me the things that I want so that I can be an even greater extension of love? Like, if my only function is to be an extension of love, then why wouldn't I be provided with the exact money, opportunities, experiences, everything that I could possibly dream of in order to be an even greater extension of love? So it is pretty simple. It's not that easy, though. It's not that easy, but it is that simple. That I always come back to, like, we think we have many problems, and the only problem that we really do have is the belief that we're separate from God. And so I notice, me personally, I love to analyze, and the more I dive into the Course, the more that I realize my analyzing is just a lot more ego than it is doing anything else for me. It'll tell me, you need to figure these things out in order to da 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 da. When in actuality, the only thing in every single moment is either one, love itself, or two, a call for love. And a call for love would just be, oh, I see that I'm misperceiving in this situation right now. I'm willing to see it differently. And your willingness is alone all that it takes to be able to perceive a new world and also remember that oneness that is within you. Every single time you choose a miracle, which is just choosing to move from fear to love, you strengthen that identity of your soul self. In line of like neural pathways and changing the chemistry of your body and mind, every single time you judge another or yourself, you are strengthening your ego. I am form. You are separate. I am separate. We are body. Every single time you choose love, choose to see the love, the soul that's within another, or the love of the experience, whatever you're experiencing, you strengthen your soul. You strengthen the pathway of your soul. Your sight becomes clearer, your vision becomes clearer, and what the Course talks about, spiritual sight begins to come online. And spiritual sight being seeing with the eyes of God, seeing the perfection that is, and seeing too opportunities begin to pour out in front of you. Like, imagine, God being omniscient and all, I imagine God can probably like see cool ways for things to unfold. And when you train miracle mindedness, you go from, okay, God, I don't know what's going to happen, but I trust you. And then like, boom, it's like right there. But the more you train that sight, the more you could see not just last minute miracle happening, but maybe you can see the miracle unfolding 3 months from now. And you don't have to be on your seat like waiting, but you have a lot more clarity because your miracle mindedness has been trained so much that or maybe you don't even see what it is, but you can feel the essence that like you are in eternal peace in every single moment. And so there maybe isn't even anything to plan for because you trust that it's unfolding in perfect harmony every step of the way. Okay, my last few things, just to kind of like drill in the premise of today, I have a section called bangers, and I just think that these are some bangers that will really like allow everything to land. So kind of like earlier, I want to invite you to allow these words to like really soak in, landing in the deepest parts of you, rewiring your subconscious. what if these were actually true? What if they were actually 100% true? That peace is a natural heritage of the soul. Everyone is free to refuse to accept his inheritance, but he is not free to establish what his inheritance is. I love this one. So it's saying you're free to refuse to accept it. You have eternal peace. You can deny it all you want, but you can't deny that it's there altogether. It's there no matter what. Which is nice because I think we deny it a lot of times too. Okay, this one. The mind can make the belief in separation very real and very fearful. And this belief is the devil. I feel like I didn't know that A Course in Miracles included the devil. And I love this idea that it's just our mind. Like, I have never totally gotten behind that the devil is like a being that actually can impose external force on us, but that the belief in separation being very real and very fearful is the devil, and that it's just all in your mind, which means that it's an illusion, because separation is an illusion. Okay. This one is basically the definition of your soul, which I feel like is really nice to lean into, granted that we are identifying as our soul. It says the soul knows, loves, and creates. These are its unequivocal functions. The abilities man now possesses are only shadows of his real strengths. I love that one. Okay. It's like your soul's only purpose is to know, love, and create. That's it. That's it. Simple. And that the abilities that your human knows, now possesses, are only shadows of his real strength. Are only like tiny bit of what your soul is really capable of. And so this hypes me up because it tells us why we practice A Course in Miracles and why we train our perception to remember that we are our souls. Like imagining if you were 100% soul expression, if you no longer compared yourself to others, denied yourself ability to do the things that you know that you're meant to do, like you would just be a little beam of sunshine, like just like blowing everyone away with how much love that you could share and express. And that's what's possible when we train our mind to identify with this soul self. There's another quote that says the greatest, I'm gonna butcher it, but it's something like the greatest accomplishments that man has ever accomplished is only a fraction of what we're really capable of. So essentially, like anything that, like, think about the person in your life who you're like, you know what, they freaking did it, or maybe they're dead. Someone that you really look up to, you're like, wow, they really did it. That's only a fraction of what's really possible. And also recognizing on a collective level, as we all begin to identify as this soul self, it begins to amplify each other's. And so in that way, if you are choosing to identify as your soul, who are you showing up as? What are you believing is truly possible? And then what happens as a side effect of that? Other people also amplifying. So it's like, you might think, yeah, but I only have this one life. And what if this one life amounts to world peace, heaven on earth, you know? Okay, I have this last one here. It says, the chosen ones are merely those who choose right sooner. Right minds can do this now, and they will find rest unto their souls. God knows you only in peace, and this is your reality. I love this one too. Bangers, guys. I think that there's so much even in spirituality and so many religions, there's this idea of like there's people who are like chosen or anointed, like they're special people. Even Jesus, like, and it's just saying like I heard another lady say this too. She's like, maybe I know how to ride the bike, but like I just learned how to ride the bike sooner than you guys did. Like, and that's how simple it is. Is like chosen ones are just the people who chose right sooner, and that's it. And that choice to return to your soul, to remember your true power, is in every single moment. It never goes away. It says right minds can do this now, and they will find rest unto their souls. And so the way that I like to think this is like, oh, messed up. Okay, now. And you're like going, oh, messed up. Okay, now. And it's just like an infinite returning to the present moment, returning to love, whatever returning feels like to you. And in doing so, recognizing that you're actually wiring in your identity as your soul. And so it's not redundant, it's not silly, it's not a waste of time. It's like the one thing. If you could do anything, it's probably like the one thing to do. Because in it you not only achieve eternal peace, but you also be the fullest extension of your soul and create the most impact, but also experiences. And it just comes from that one silly choice over and over again. And then finally it says, God knows you only in peace, and this is your reality. And I just want to reiterate this truth that like God isn't like, oh, you guys separated from me? That's so whack. God is like, has been, always will be this unconditional, loving, gooey source that is there. And he only knows that. And so in that way, our souls have never left. I imagine I have this picture of like God is just like a big like light ball for me. Because I imagine him as like the actual sun in the sky. And our souls are just like all hanging out, like having a party with God. But our souls are also here with us, living in this separation. And the more that we remember that, like, we're just partying with God in this all loving, unconditional experience, the less important and huge and drastic and terrifying and this life actually feels. And so then it's like talking about like seat of awareness. It's like we're the watchers. We're our souls just like watching our bodies like do really weird things and like these crazy experiences happening, and we're with them, but we aren't them. And that's the eternal peace that this is talking about. It's not like you never go through highs and lows. It's that you have a foundation so deeply rooted in an unconditional God that despite your circumstances, you are whole and held and loved. And in that way, you can allow the process and allow the opportunities and the experience to move through you and not force or push or make happen.